Welcome to Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Two gals on the prowl for enlightenment, sex, and all things holy. Holy Fuck. Each week, beauty alchemist and transformational coach and speaker, Katherine McClelland, and spiritual healer and life coach, Krista Kim, discuss navigating spiritual consciousness in a real human body. Stumbling through dating, relationships, and everyday life, all while maintaining a fucking sense of humor. So we can...
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
We can't remember any more of the words. Happy holidays.
From Holy Fuck
to you. Anyway, hi everyone. It's the ladies at Holy Fuck. I guess we call ourselves the gals.
I don't want to
Holy
be
Fuck.
a lady.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have said that. That's boring.
Gals.
We're the gals. We're the gals at Holy Fuck. We are saying happy holidays to you today.
Woo! What's going on?
What's going on? I'm sure in your lives, everybody has a lot going on at this time of year. For me, sometimes I think it starts at Thanksgiving, maybe sometimes even before. I've noticed some years
like it
Halloween.
Starts at Halloween because it's like from even the month when October starts, it's like, what are you going to be for
Halloween
costumes and kids, and it just is. You get to Thanksgiving and you're like already exhausted.
Yeah, we have in my family we have a lot of Scorpio birthdays, so we have lots of November birthdays. So, and even in my friend group, I do. I just like Scorpios. I love Scorpios. I am one. I love them. And that means that there's lots of birthdays. So between
Halloween, birthdays, moving into all of the Thanksgiving.
And then Christmas starts before Thanksgiving these days. And so it just starts piling up. And this year, Hanukkah's so early that it happened right on the tails of Thanksgiving. So, and
then you add on all the family drama and...
What? No family drama. What?
Okay. Your life's perfect.
My life's perfect.
But you did have your mother pass away, so that's an extra layer of...
I'm kidding about my life is... Well, let's rewind. My life is perfect, and that's because it perfectly is unfolding in spirit. Mm-hmm. And I did have... And I do have lots of things happen in my life that create experiences that I work with.
Right.
So it's perfect. I don't want anybody to get the impression that it looks like, I don't know, what are some of those icons of
Mayberry?
Perfection? Mayberry or Father Knows Best,
right.
Or any of those things. But
why does anybody really have that? I mean...
I don't know. I think some people have some times when they're in their lives when things feel like they are moving pretty smoothly and the kids are happy and parents are happy. And I think there are years that happens.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of people.
I'm like searching for, I wonder what that year was in my life. Where did it go? Because I'm going, even when things were moving slowly and I was having everything that I wanted or thought I wanted, I think there was still like a layer of depression underneath or I don't know. So I don't even think for me that even when I was living what I think other people perceived as the perfect existence and the perfect family and perfect kids, dogs, blah, blah, blah. I know inside it didn't quite feel perfect underneath. So I guess that's what I was talking about. Like, even when it's perceived as perfect, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
It's true. And a lot of times there's a lot of stuff because all of us know that. All of us know that in our lives, our Facebook personas and Instagram personas and everything that looks so good. And certainly there are amazing, beautiful moments. And life is life. When you add all the pressures of the holidays, things can get pretty gruesome. But what we wanted to talk to you guys about today was not about all of the gruesomeness of the holidays, although we will talk a little bit about it.
We have to touch on it in order to even talk about what we want to learn from them.
Plus, we want to be real with you. We're not going to pretend that everything is easy and it's a Hollywood movie.
Right, because like as you're dealing with the grief and things changing in your family, I feel like when I look at the holidays, my grief is not from a death, but it's the death of the nuclear family, meaning this will probably be the third year where, we're doing the back and forth with the kids since I'm divorced, and I will see them for some of the holidays, but not all of them. So back when we were married and living the perceived perfect ideal family life, holidays were a very joyful occasion. And now they've morphed and they're still joyful, but it's different. And so when I look at this month coming up, it's like if I get caught up in the way it used to be, then I get into the feeling of loss, as opposed to what I know I need to do some work on around right now is, what do I want this month to be?
Yeah. And really, Krista, I think we want to really keep our focus on what is the quality of experience that we're looking for. Because to me, Christmas is about the birth of love on the planet. And we forget what it's about. And we're about parties and we're about being accepted and who got invited and what presents are we getting. And, all of that. And in some way, all of that can be an indication of love. And in other ways, all of it can be exactly the opposite. And we can send ourselves into such a spiral of loss around our expectations of what Christmas should be, or not just Christmas. Everybody has their own holidays because every religion, every path has some holiday that welcomes in the light around the solstice, which is the 21st of December. And it's that in the Jewish calendar, it falls in different parts of December, and in all the different traditions around the world, it all falls in different places, but everyone has a festival of light because we draw it in as the light starts to come back in the darkness of this season.
So let's talk about, I love that you were just saying that about the light. Like, let's figure out maybe for us what that would look like to have a light-filled December. Because right now I'm definitely looking ahead like, it's raining here in California, which never happened.
Thank God. I know.
Thank God. And it's giving me a little bit of like the cold, want to stay in bed feeling all day long. And I'm looking at this month of holidays like, oh. So I know you're having your own, you're having a completely different experience than I am, but I'm trying to find a way to get myself in the spirit of it because I feel like I have my kids for the next couple of weeks, but they're in school and they're busy, and it's the madness of all the holiday concerts and all of that stuff. When I finally get to like relax and breathe, they're gone. And so I'm like, how do I enjoy this time with them, even though it's not super present time? When I say present, I don't mean presents under the tree. I mean like being present with them, but in their busy time, and then set up enough activity and things that are going to fill my calendar up and my life up, my heart up, once they leave for the second half of the holiday.
Interesting. I was thinking about, I'm going to shamelessly promote my book right this second. Awesome. I have a book called, that I just put out, called Breathless. And the subtitle is The Relentless Pursuit of the Good Life. And that's essentially what we're talking about here is, are we pursuing something at all costs that is actually not going to give us the thing we're pursuing? Right. So how do we stay open every day in the season and remind ourselves what it is we actually want? So for me, this holiday was always Christian-based in my childhood, and it had a lot of church. It had a lot of plays. I was in musicals. There was so much around it, and the conversation was always about love and joy. And every part of it. So for me, there's a lot of it. I get into an anticipation of love and joy and an anticipation of inclusion and excitement and things like that, which doesn't necessarily always picture in my life right now. When I go back to what I actually want, I want the sensation of being connected in my loving. I want to meet people from my heart. I want to make sure that this time of year especially, I remember to acknowledge people. I remember to be intimate. I remember to care deeply. I remember to wonder about people I maybe haven't seen for a while.
See, like you're saying all of that, and the minute when you started off and said it's about joy and love, I was just like, God, aren't people like you forget? Like you hear those sayings so often that almost like you tune them out and forget what that actually means. So I think we all go, yeah, I want joy and love around my holidays. but what does that mean? Like how do I practice that? Mm. And I think we hear those things so much that we just tune them out and don't even like really connect with them anymore. So when you started going into, I want connection and intimacy, then I was like, oh, okay, that all of a sudden starts sounding more connected and intimate. Like my brain started going, what would that look like? And do I even understand what that would look like or what that means?
Well, I certainly think you know what intimacy and connection look like.
Well, yeah, but it's very easy. I think a lot of people connect that with sex.
Oh, okay. So it can be sex.
Yes.
Which is lovely. And
happy holidays.
But it also, I think what it has to do with, Krista, and this is why I was shamelessly going to my book, is it has to do with starting from a choice of how you are and who you're going to be. And when you don't feel like that, working with it and breathing and meditating and doing these things that we talk about all the time, and maybe looking at our expectations and asking ourselves, is it really realistic to expect other people to fulfill for us something that we're not doing for ourselves? All sorts of things. But I think in the simplest way, human contact is where love and intimacy starts.
Mm-hmm. When you said breathing and meditating, all of a sudden what I heard in my head was like, oh, that just sounds like so woo-woo. And again, it's one of those love and joy, breathe and meditate. But for people who don't have that as a practice, if we were to simplify that and go, okay, if someone's never done that, what would that look like? How could they use that for this next month? And so what I heard in my head was like, okay, you're going into maybe a party or a family function or something that maybe you're afraid of an interaction you're going to have with a family member, haven't been getting along, or you just don't want to be there because you want to be doing something else. When we say breathe and meditate, it doesn't mean you have to go sit there and meditate for an hour on the top of a mountain. It's like, for me, it would be like taking a moment prior to walking in the door of the party.
Yeah.
Taking a deep breath in, reminding myself that I'm a nice person, I'm full of light, and what do I want to experience at this party? It's the spiritual prep moment.
Exactly. Absolutely.
How do I want to be with these people?
Just like we take the time to put our makeup on and our clothes on and pick the right outfit, we sort of want to pick the right attitude to go in with, So,
but that doesn't mean a fake attitude either.
No. Yeah, good point.
Because it doesn't mean like walking to the party like, hey, everybody. It's like if you don't feel like the life of the party, don't try to walk in and do that. That's right. The intimacy and authenticity part you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think it's a great point, Chris, is setting an intention versus putting on a persona. So inside me, however I'm feeling is how I'm feeling. I can also set an intention to have a nice time at this party, to be grateful for the interactions I have, to seek to talk to two people I've never met before, to keep my interactions positive, to, I can choose who to be, and I want to put the emphasis on the word be, rather than what you're going to do at the party.
Right.
I'm going to get shit-faced, man. I'm going to get drunk, or I'm going to do this, because that actually gets in the way
of intimacy.
But we do it because we're so scared of intimacy.
Well, I think a lot of these, especially family holidays, you don't see these people all the time. So there's a lot of pressure to go to them and make sure you talk to every single person there because you might not see them for another year. And make sure to update them on everything that you've done. And sometimes maybe we haven't done a lot that year, or maybe we don't have a lot that we're proud of for that year. And so there's a little anxiety of like, oh God, everyone's going to ask me about my job and I just lost it, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's true. That definitely happens, right? And that's why one of the things that you and I focus on is this whole concept of getting present. Mm-hmm. And being authentic.
5 ways to get present. Just kidding.
And not to get presents. And we're just being slightly different about this. But to really
I just said the one thing I know you hate.
What?
5 ways to.
Oh, I know. I have such a thing with this 5 ways and 3 ways and 6 ways to, kill a duck or whatever it is.
Do you like a 3-way?
Do you like a 3-way? Now that's a little sexier. I think we like that better. So Krista and I are honestly, we're trying to find
That's
this
what I want under my Christmas tree. A big present of 3-way. I'm just kidding.
Are you though? Is she though? So I think one of the things that you can hear us working with here is wanting to provide what works in terms of actually creating a sense of being joyful or being loving in the holidays, rather than following the formulas, following the rules, doing what's expected. You might have to say no. You might have to hurt someone's feelings by saying no, not on purpose, but you might have to.
That's so key, what you just said. Because the holidays are so busy and there's so many different people wanting, you to show up at the parties. And if you say yes to something and you don't really feel like it's a yes in your heart, you're going to be at that event irritated, not being as nice and joyful as you should be, and you're not
as you should be.
And
don't shit on me, sister.
Oh, I should'd. You're just not going to, like, if I'm hosting a party and you show up because you have to, then I'm going to sense that. I'm going to sense it a mile away. So you're not doing me any favors at showing up at my party and pretending to be there.
Yeah.
Just don't show up. Do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Honor what you really want to do.
And by honoring yourself and actually telling you, for instance, that I wasn't going to come, now you can actually think, who would I like? Who else would I like? And then actually have a nice party.
Right.
And
people who want to be there.
With people who want to be there. And so we have this idea that we owe people our presence sometimes. And really they thought it would be fun, but if it's not fun, we really shouldn't go because we will ruin their party.
We really shouldn't go.
I did it too. We're shitting all over the place today. We're trying to find this really sweet place where we can invite ourselves, because both of us are divorced. This is a single Christmas for both of us.
Yes.
And both of our kids are getting older. I have a significantly smaller household than I used to have. Mm-hmm. Krista's is getting smaller.
Yes, because I'm in the phase of children who are in high school. And so I can easily find myself in this place of, oh my God, I might cry. This is my daughter's last Christmas where she's in the house.
I cried that Christmas.
Yeah. So there's almost a part of me that wants to throw this wall up of like, not even acknowledging the holidays anymore, because then it's going to get me into this is the last this and the last that and that. I spin myself out so quickly when I do that.
Wait for May and June.
Shit.
So we're going to get right off that because that's just a bad subject.
But I've done this with my kids growing up the entire time. Oh, this is their first Christmas. Oh, it's the last time they'll have a first Christmas. It's like something in my brain works that way. And it's a part of myself that I really want to get rid of because
don't get rid of it.
Well, it keeps me in sadness for the moment.
She's
it keeps
just
me
sentimental. Just cradle her and love her and then tell her to get over it.
But this is actually really good because this part that gets really tender inside of me is the part that I automatically want to shut down and pull back from. So instead of going, wow, this is her last Christmas, let me do the tree bigger this year. Let me put more lights. Let me bake more cookies. Let me do more to make it even more special. I'm almost going like, oh, I don't even want to acknowledge it. I don't even want to drag, a tree in and clean up the mess afterward. I'm going into that like Grinchy part of myself, not out of like, not wanting to have a fabulous holiday, but not wanting to face the potential sadness.
Right. And, we started by talking that there are a lot of griefs associated with holidays. People do lose people. And even if they're still in your life, they don't always come home anymore.
Right.
And if you are single, you have all sorts of options, and every year it may look really different. And this year, both my parents died since last Christmas. So they were both here last year, and they're both not. And we're also grieving a Christmas here in Ojai where we had huge fires. Now I'm going to cry. Mm-hmm. And it was frightening, and we thought we were going to lose our homes and possibly some people. And so there's so much going on. And how do we maintain that we sort of squeeze the juices of this time of year, squeeze the pomegranates. Oh my God, those seeds are so annoying. But squeeze it so that we can actually have the experience of sharing this kind of loving. And my mom really just passed within the last month, as I think, I'm not getting that wrong. and her service is this Sunday. So really this holiday is very laced with awareness of the loss of my mom. And in the last couple days, I've noticed that as I get more open and vulnerable about that, without dragging the story out and like making everyone listen to my woe is me, but actually just present with myself and my feelings. And I say, actually, I notice I feel really tender today. And people just reach out to me. They put their arms around me. And that's actually what I need in order to connect and feel the loving and joy that they're feeling. They don't need to do it that way this year. They're like, everything is coming up roses for them.
But how can we teach people, or to teach them, but how can we demonstrate like what it would look like that if someone like you is at a party and said something like that? I know there's a part of me, my old self, that I would have been like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I would have bolted away to you to the punch bowl,
Yeah, it's okay if you do that.
Right. And there's also a way for us to grow into that of like, what would it look like if you said that to me at a party? It's like, what could I say to you that would invite the intimacy in and not create the feeling within me that I need to run away because it's going to ruin my party buzz? How can I connect with you?
It's so funny that you said that because I was thinking this has happened a couple times, right? This season, I've already been it's December 6th, and I've been to 3 Christmas parties. And I love them. So don't get me wrong, Krista might not.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And the one thing that I'm really aware of is that I don't stay in that space. So I don't come in, I'm low, I'm down or something, and I stay in that space and I talk to everyone about it and I drag my story out. I just watch and be with myself. So because feelings don't always last that long.
Right.
So sometimes, like especially Krista, because we're close, I would say something to her about, I notice I'm feeling a little tender today. And I know that Krista, beyond her pretend personas, would reach out and put her arms around me and say, I love you. You okay? And I would say, yeah, I'm okay. I'm at a party. This is fine.
And that would probably shift your energy right then, just having someone acknowledge your feelings.
Absolutely. And if I wasn't okay, I might say, you know what, I'm actually feeling not okay. So I think I might change my plan. And I might stay here a little while, and then I might go take care of myself a different way or call another friend and meet somewhere quiet.
Self-honoring choice.
Self-honoring choices. That's what we're really talking about today. So the first level of intimacy has to be with ourselves.
So I'm feeling vulnerable enough to actually share where you're at in that moment with people. Because you could walk in and someone says, how are you doing? And you put on the smile and, oh, I'm great. And they're sitting there going, really? You're great? We've seen you on Facebook. Your mother just passed away a month ago. Like that, from that moment would set up this, you're not being authentic or you're not being real. So then that keeps them in they'll just put on the shiny too.
That's true. Because people meet us where we are, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we're going to do that. Sometimes I'm going to leave that at the door. I'm going to say, tonight, I'm going to party like it's 1999. No, I just don't want to, I don't want to be in that space. So I know I'm going to a Christmas party. I just kind of shut that little faucet off and tonight this isn't going to be with me. Mm-hmm. And I know it's going to be there tomorrow. But I do think that the intimacy starts with ourselves. So we make the choices we make. Tonight, I'm not bringing this. And if it gets too much for me, I'm going home. That's what I'm choosing. Right. And I know my best friend is somewhere in the world. I'm going to call her. Whatever it is my plan is. What you said then, which is then I have to be brave enough to choose to share it.
Right.
So if you come up to me and I come in the door and I'm all, tonight's going to be the fiery party of my life. And you're like, hey, baby, how are you? And I'm like, you know what, Krista, I'm not going there tonight. You're like, okay. I see you're being authentic about you're not going there. I'm being authentic about my not going there. You're like, great. I don't need to do it.
I didn't want to go there anyway.
I was being a good friend, but I don't need to go there. Can I get you a glass of champagne? Would you like to come in the other room? Everyone's singing or dancing or whatever their silliness is happening, right?
Sorry.
Or whatever silliness
I was like, I'm fucking. And then I was like, wait, what kind of party would we be talking about?
I think I was at a different party right then. That might be the after party.
Well, I haven't been at that party either, so... Yeah. My intention for this holiday.
Yeah, so that I love when Krista introduced the term self-honoring choices. It's a conversation that we had consistently at USM, University of Santa Monica. How do you know who you are? How do you go in there and find your choice to be loving or what you want?
And I think people get uncomfortable with self-honoring choices because they pair it up with being selfish.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is making a choice that feels really good in your heart, even if it's not going to make everyone around you happy, but you make it anyways, knowing that ultimately it will make them happier because you didn't come and shit on their parade.
Yeah. Even if you weren't going to shit on their parade, there's something about each of us. It's almost like we teach everyone by our self-honoring choices. So and of course we're respectful and we're honoring to the other person and we try not to do it at the last minute. But sometimes you're going to do it at the last minute. You're like, I can't get out of my own way today. Mm-hmm. The same way, how many people have ever said, I'm sick when you're not sick?
Not me.
Never happened. Never happened. I've never not gone to a party. No, we all have done that. So what if we actually said to the person and created more intimacy with them and said, I honestly cannot explain to you what's going on, but tonight I don't feel like I can do this. I so appreciate what you're bringing. I would never have brought this at the last minute, but right. I guarantee you that you will not enjoy my company, and I don't want to put you through that or me through that.
And so I hope if someone said that to me, I would be like, I love you. Like, right. There's no need for me to take it personally. Now, if I have a problem or if I have something inside that I have that fear of no one showing up to my party or I don't feel worthy or whatever it is, then that's going to, like you saying that is going to trigger my stuff because I'm going to go into, oh, shit, I'm not a good enough friend of her. I see how it is, and I can spin off in my story. So,
well, and you would spin off in that. You would spin off in that story no matter what excuse I gave you.
Exactly.
I was sick. You'd be like, she's not sick.
Exactly.
And you'd be right.
Right. But that's my point. It's like whether you lie about the reason why you can't be there or you tell the truth, that person on the other end is going to have the experience they need to have, regardless of what your excuse is. So how much better would it be to just say the truth? That way they can meet you really where you're at.
Yeah, and with lots of empathy for their situation. Like, I know you've planned this party. I know you're really hoping people are going to come. I know you've put a lot of effort into it. Believe me, if there was any way I could do this, I would show up. And as you know, this has just happened in my life. And for today, I need to stay home. I wish it was different. So the other person can really feel you're caring. Now you've communicated authentically, with intimacy, with kindness, with respect, with honor. This is all of the conversation about love intelligence. How do you use yourself to communicate and care for other people no matter what your choice is? Mm-hmm. So that your choice doesn't have to communicate dishonoring. Your choice is to honor yourself first, always, and then the other people in your environment with the same love and care. Can you imagine how much more love we could all have in our lives?
Well, and that's where I feel like the joy comes from, because when we're not making self-honoring choices, we are not living in our joy. Because then we're living in like irritation with somebody else or feeling like we had to do things for the wrong reason or whatever it is. Joy, so when we're talking about the season of love and joy, you cannot be joyful if you are sacrificing and playing the martyr and not making self-honoring choices. You are responsible for not having a joyful holiday because you've done those behaviors.
Yeah, it really is up to us. If we start sacrificing ourselves, we're not ourselves, because our wholeness is where our joy is. Mm-hmm. So if we've told ourselves a story that we have to destroy our wholeness to be something for someone else or to do something for someone else, we are not going to show up there with our wholeness. We're going to show up with the half-ass part of us that's pissed to be there or paying for something or small. We're not going to show up with our hearts open. You know, what makes us so incredible and what makes parties so fun is when everyone is totally themselves.
Right.
And then everyone you interact with gives you a completely different experience rather than everyone being exactly the same or pretending that you're better than everyone at the party and having an experience of separation. You go home from a party like that, I guarantee you're not going to feel fabulous.
Yeah. So what are some like processes or 5 tips? I'm just kidding.
Stop with the tips. She's giving me the tips.
Like, what would you do, or what will you be doing to ensure that you're going to have a nice holiday for yourself by your own definition? Because this is what we're talking about, is that fuck the normal Hallmark rendition of the holidays if that doesn't work for you. If it works for you, great, keep doing it. But if you've done that year after year and you keep finding yourself feeling empty or lonely, like, what are you going to do this year to shift that?
Or that you've done it and you love it, but it's not there for you anymore. You're divorced, or your children are grown, or your husband died, or your dog died. I mean, anything can happen that changes this experience from the way it was. And if we stay stuck that it has to be that way, we won't get it. But
maybe this is the ideal scene part.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
You know,
that's
of
a really nice
really
idea.
Sitting back and like not going off the old model of what last year's holiday was, because that's also the thing. I think we can be in the constant state of grieving if we're constantly trying to get what we used to have. Well, and we're never going to have that because there's change every day.
Well, and no matter, even if your family is super stable, like even you and I know this, for the years that our families were stable, our kids kept growing, damn them.
Right.
They kept changing. One Christmas, they wanted just so the most exciting things. It was so fun to find that special thing and like get the last one in the frickin' store or run to somewhere at 7:00 in the morning. Now all they want is money.
Yeah. And to me, that's where I'm at this
so
year, and I'm grieving.
Boring. It's so boring. It's like, I know I'm going to give you money because it's what you want. And then I give you something else, and you're like, well, you could have given me the other $20.
Right, exactly.
And there's no way I was going to be controlled by that because I needed to give some presents. Like, that was important to me. Mm-hmm. And I know that those were for me.
Right. They shoved it in a drawer.
Exactly. And that's okay. I actually, don't tell, I found some old stocking stuffers that my son did that with. He just shoved them in a drawer. I found them the other day. I put them in my room with the presents. I'm going to rewrap them. I guarantee you he will not remember that he got them 2 years ago. I can't wait to do it.
That's awesome.
Although if he does remember, it's going to be slightly embarrassing. But anyway.
Back to the ideal scene, because I really want
ideal scenes.
Think about
great
this.
Place to start, Krista. Now, I just want to say one caveat since we're talking about this. We're not talking about overwhelming your system with positivity so that you're not authentic. Because we keep saying to you, we want you to be authentic. So it could have been that Christmas this year, authentically for me, was to go to Baja by myself, go to China or Japan by myself, to live a completely different experience.
Yes.
That could have been really authentic. Also because I'm not going to see my son in the way that I expected before Christmas. So that will change my reality this year too. I cannot fight with reality though.
Right.
So now I've created a plan, and this is what Krista's calling an ideal scene, right? It's this ideal of what will work that you will actually be able to get the results you want.
Right. Because in this isn't a process that is like manifesting your whole life, because we're talking about for the next month.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going to say, my ideal holiday is going to be,
sleigh bells ring.
Right. Taking a trip around Europe with my boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have the time to go to Europe. So why would I make that my ideal scene for this year? I might make it for next year, 5 years out or whatever. But I have to be really realistic of like, I have 25 days and less right now to create
19.
Yeah, 19 days to create an ideal scene of what I can do for this year.
Yeah. And the ideal scene is based on who you are being. It's always based on the ground level of, are you choosing to be in your loving? So what supports that? So for me, having to spend too much money on gifts this year would probably take me out of my loving. I would feel scared because I've been traveling, I've been investing in my business, and I really don't want to, make a big trip to Hawaii with my son and cost $10,000 and, that would just stress me out totally.
As opposed to bringing you joy. If you've got $500,000 in the bank, then you can take that same trip and it's joyful because you're not having the fear and the anxiety underneath it.
So you stay present with yourself while you're creating it. For me this year, I want to actually stay home. We missed Christmas last year.
Yeah.
And now it's raining. It didn't do this last year. It didn't rain for us. We got fire. So this year, I'm just having the sense of, like, can we stay home? Can we enjoy the rain? Can we put the wreath up? What are the 5 things that are important to me? What are the 5 things that are important to my son? When he comes home from college, what does he need?
Right.
And he says money, I'm going to slap him. But
you're like, I've got a kiss for you instead.
Yeah. So what are a couple of things that would make your holiday ideal for you?
Well, you just talking about the fires and stuff. I like that just totally escaped me, and I was remembering last year how I had set up the Christmas tree. I think like right before that, and when we got back from the fires, it was like the whole living room was full of leaves because it had been blowing so hard during the fire. So we escaped the fires in a complete windstorm, and so the whole front living room and the Christmas tree were like, it looked like a shitstorm in that room. So we came back and it was like a depressing scene. I mean, not as depressing as we still had our house.
Right.
That
we didn't
was
lose
amazing,
our houses,
but it was just like this, okay, we just put up all this stuff and didn't get to enjoy it, and we just packed it all away. So maybe that's why I'm having resistance to the setup this year, because it felt like last year we took the time to set it all up and then it was taken away. And I know that sounds so fucking trivial, but it's
it's not.
It's just a little nugget of, I don't know,
grief. It's another grieving. It's something that wasn't there, that didn't get fulfilled, that maybe we didn't fully grieve because we were on to the next thing and we were trying to survive and make sure the place didn't, the mudslides didn't come down the hill. And,
right.
There was just stuff over and over and over. And when your marriage is faltering or collapsing or quitting or stopping, any of the things that you might feel about that, holidays only come around once a year. So you have to go through a bunch of years to have a bunch of iterations.
Right.
And for me, there were some big challenges around changed agreements at the last minute and things like that would really affect how I was in the holiday. And I had to work really hard to stay present, to help myself be loving and keep creating for my kids the experience that and my parents, because they were getting older. And so I was responsible for both sides of that thing, which was crazy.
I'm just all of a sudden realizing this other part. I'm the parent who has kept the kids in the house
this year. Since the divorce.
Right. And so I have always been really traditional in the way the Christmas is celebrated. And so I've been trying to maintain that these last couple of years by myself. And the kids don't seem as engaged in it. And then my ex has like he's always had cool apartments in like downtown LA, and they always come back and talk about how fun it was decorating his tree, because it's got like, they went to like the 99-cent store and just had fun creating this like, I don't know, just something different. Bizarro tree that they think is hilarious, right? And so I'm in this place of like, I've been trying to hold on to all these traditions that have, that they had when they were children. And yet I get my feelings hurt because I feel like they're having more fun down with the new way of Christmas. And I think that's why I'm like, really, I'm the one who has to put up the tree with all the old ornaments from, their childhood, which I love. But I don't know if they're
maybe
enjoying
taking
it
a little for granted. What's really fun though, Krista, that really brings up another thing. So we've been talking about intimacy and connection. And now we're talking about your family or your kids or whoever you celebrate Christmas with. What if you actually created it with them? What if you sat down and said, what do you want this year? What do you know? So, because sometimes my kids will roll their eyes about things that I love
that you just said that, because if I could sit them down and say, what's one thing that everybody would want to do for Christmas that would make them feel like they experience Christmas, that would be really interesting to find out, because I guarantee it would be completely different for each kid. And for me, I would have so much joy just spending the day with them on the couch with buckets of popcorn watching
Right?
TV Christmas shows like we used to when they were little. And we haven't done that in forever because everybody's schedules are so busy and they've got friends and whatever. That would be the best Christmas gift ever.
So it's great. So now you know.
I know. That's all I would want.
Yeah. And then you find out, did they want a tree? Did they want? So what we're talking about, and we've been really random in this conversation today, so it's hard to know how this podcast specifically is going to come out, because I think we're actually experiencing it while we're talking to you guys about it, or gals about it. So it's a little...
Because I feel choked up right now inside my heart. I'm like, oh, I know we need to wrap this up, and I'm going to like leave this podcast and have to go like cry or do some freeform writing and get all these emotions out, because I haven't allowed myself to talk about it.
I'm glad you're really feeling it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, really, really being with people is really what this holiday is about. And intimacy can be in all sorts of forms. And sometimes women talk about intimacy, and what we mean is connection. And sometimes we mean sexual connection. Sometimes we mean heart connection.
What do you think men mean?
I think more often when men think of intimacy, they think of sexual intimacy.
Like lighting a fire with some candles and rose petals.
And then having sex.
Right.
Like it goes that. I think intimacy for me does not always mean that. I can be intimate with my male friends who I'm never going to have sex with.
Right.
Because for me, that has to do with opening my heart. So I wouldn't want to get that confused, but what we are talking about is the more your heart is open and the more you're sharing actually what's true, and the more we're making space for other people and what's true for them, the more intimate the whole thing is, and it actually feels like Christmas.
Because if I ask my kids those questions of like what would be their ideal holiday, that's where the intimacy starts. Because I'm not going in saying, we're going to do the same things we've always done, and come on, got to go put that ornament on. And they're like, I don't want to put the ornament on. Like I'm forcing them to have a holiday that they don't even want to have.
Right. And what if one of your kids says, I do want the tree, I want the whole holiday? Then you say, well, how can we do that together? And the other two are like, I actually don't want to do it. So how can you make that intimate time with one of your children so that you're supporting their desire and you're getting intimate time with them and creating something fun? And maybe you do go out and buy a couple new ornaments that are dorky, or have some fun putting cranberries on the tree, or whatever used to be something. Hey, we haven't done that in years. Let's watch a movie while we do it. Do it a whole new way. All we're suggesting is, the capacities of the spiritual life are so huge, and we lose them so fast when we start trying to create a formula. And the capacities of the spiritual life and the connection to the field that you and I sometimes talk about with our people, the capacities are creativity and loving and joy and possibility. And so all of the sudden, something can, like the kids were telling you, that weird Christmas that they bought stuff at the 99-cent store. I had one Christmas like that too after my divorce. It was hilarious.
Right.
I was grieving before it happened because I thought it was going to be a shit show, honestly. So I just want to bring that idea in, that what we're really going to go back to over and over in this is, are you being real and honest, intimate with yourself? Do you know what you need? Who can you ask to get it met? Who can join you? And then are you willing to ask other people what they need so you can create something that's beautiful and passionate and loving and creative and full of possibility and new and not stuck?
Yeah.
Because it won't be stuck even if it's tradition, if someone wants it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I have my nugget, my little takeaway from the podcast. I always feel like as long as our listeners get one little piece out of an episode that like makes them think that it's been a success. I mean, really, if one person in the world took one nugget and it shifted their experience, that's a success in my mind. But for me in this podcast, that's my one nugget of like, oh, I just need to ask them what they want instead of trying to make myself crazy creating something that no one even cares about.
And you don't necessarily want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
It'd be different if you wanted to do it.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Well, now we know Krista got her nugget. So if no one else got a nugget today, we know we've been successful.
It was still successful.
And we do want a heartfelt, lean in at the last moment here and say thank you. Thank you for everything you've given us, your time, your effort, your love, your comments, your kindness, your shares, your telling your friends about us. Those are gifts that we can tell you from the bottom of our hearts matter to us.
Yeah. So the gift you can give us is to go on iTunes and give us that 5-star rating that we know you're dying to give us, and to subscribe. That would be the biggest supportive gift so that we can keep doing what we're doing and we can keep spreading the love.
And for you, we hope that our podcasts are a gift that you can go back and listen to, or that will give you something. And in the new year, we're hoping to be able to give you the gift, some retreats and some fun times with our people. And we love you very much. And what do we always say?
Spread the love. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Do you want the opportunity to see the gals of Holy Fuck in person? If so, go to holyfuckpodcast.com and join our mailing list so you can find out when and where these goddesses will be transforming lives next. And yes, I know, I'm talking about myself in third person. Open your browser, type in holyfuckpodcast.com, click on mailing list, and give us your most trusty email, not that bogus one you give to Walmart. So sign up now. Not tomorrow. Now. Now. Thank you.